Right, I'm going to have to try and talk loud enough for you to hear me over both the sewing machine when I turn it on and a fan, because I just can't turn the fan off. The second I turn the fan off, I just melt into a pool. So, but I'm going to do my best. I wonder if it would help if I turn the daylight lamp on. That might help you see as well. Let's see. Is that any better? Or worse? Doesn't seem to make a lot of difference. That could be because it's daylight. But anyway, we might as well have it there. Okay, so I'm stitching here on one of these large photo panels. This is a photograph of mine. I've got the photograph here, a print off of it, of some baby seagulls sitting on the edge of a boat. This is in Whitby, a place that I absolutely love to visit, and a definite place of sanctuary for me. And I've got two photos of birds. Both of these are going to appear, but this is the one I'm sewing at the moment. So I've got this here as a good reference for me, because if you can see when it's enlarged, because of the quality of my photo, not because of the quality of the transfer, my photo actually was not big enough really. I didn't take it high enough resolution to be able to enlarge. This is 4 foot by 1 foot, this panel I'm working on. So it means that as it enlarges, it loses some colour and it loses some definition. So I like to have this here so that I can actually see all the detail of the bird that I'm going to machine embroider. So I've done all my background quilting. If you can see here, I background quilted either in just straight stitches down here on the boat, and then up here on the sea area I've done it in kind of waving lines, and I've done it quite closely again because I'm going to machine embroider these birds, and they are going to, I don't know if you can see here, possibly can't, possibly can, there's a huge amount of stretch already. Just all I've done is embroider his beak there. So the first thing I do with something like this, because again on here it's not so clear for me to see, is I put in the direction of the bird's feathers, because that's what I'm going to be embroidering, and I want to make sure I keep the shape and the direction of the bird correct. So let's just take this out here. I've been working, so let's cut that off so you can see here. So I've started embroidering up on his head here. I hope you can see that. But underneath I've got all these layout lines which show me, they're stitched, but they just show me which way I want my stitches to go. And it means you'll see when I'm working, you know, when I'm in the middle here working, it's easy to forget what I'm doing and to suddenly find you've put in a completely wrong directional stitch. So I like to do that because that gives me some guidelines of where the bird should be. I also keep my reference photo right by the sewing machine, so that when I'm working, a lot of the time I'm looking at this to tell me where I need to be, because I can see more clearly the highlights and lowlights on here. I'm going to fold at the back so it's easier for me to get at. Got my machine set, feed dogs down for free machine stitching. I like to with something like a bird, because it doesn't actually have a totally smooth edge, and animals are the same. I set mine up on a zigzag, and what I do is I reduce the zigzag width to somewhere between 0.2, which is what I'm on at the moment because I've been working on his head, and maybe 0.45, and that you'll find when you move for free machining, that just slight movement of the needle just gives you a slightly more feathery kind of soft edge, I think. So I can't show you all of this. A, the camera won't have time, and B, it would just take far too long. So just have a thread down there. But I can show you hopefully in stages what I would do. So what I'm doing at the moment is I've got, it's not a fully white, it's an off-white thread, an off-whitey grey, very pale white, very pale grey-white thread. And I'm putting in the highlights as I see them on the bird. I may well come back in with a pure white, and also I can remember all the time I can go over this at the end with probably with my Pablo pencils. Actually here I would use my artist pencils to actually add a lot of this detail that's on the photo that I may not be able to actually capture with my stitching. We'll see how that goes. And to push up things like, you know, where the real white highlights are on him. We move that a bit so that you can see the reference photo as well. Right, okay, so all I'm going to do is look for, this is the next white spot I can see here on his lovely chesty. So we'll start off, I'm just going to try and get this so that I keep myself in camera. I like to work, because I've got this zigzag on, I'm going to try and work in the direction of the feathers, and this is where my directional lines are really useful for me here, because now I've turned this, I can't actually see the bird very well anymore. I don't really know what I'm looking at here. It's just chest, and it'd be very tempting to think it all goes down like that, but actually it isn't. It's coming out like this. So I've got my machine set up. Most of this looks white on here. I can check on my photo here, and yes it is. This is a really quite bright area around to speak. So all I'm going to do is, as I've done before, go on, I'll turn off the fan when I turn on the machine, give us a chance. I am suffering for you now. This is how much I want to share things with you. This is pure suffering. Okay, so I've got myself set, as I said before on this machine, I've got a little line here which tells me about the speed I like to free machine at. So off I go, and I've got this very tiny zigzag going here, so I'm just going to and fro. I'm thinking feathers, I'm thinking a bird, and really I'm telling you, you can't see, but I do need these guidelines here because it's so distracting now, the view I've got. This does no longer look like a seagull. All I can see is this bit here, which is just a bit of white and grey, a grey piece there, and this blue here. So I need these lines to remind me, and my photo, I can look over there and think, yeah, that's quite a fluffy edge. This is just his other eye in here, and it's quite a fluffy edge underneath it. So let's get that in. Let's take a bit of a fluffy edge over the edge of the blue there. Try and be careful not to wipe his eye out. But from here, you see, I can't see that that's an eye. I don't know what shape it needs to be. So these lines are really useful for me. So let's get that fluffy edge just outside there. I'll try and keep talking loudly, I need to remember, but I'm trying to shout over a sewing machine. Learned a new thing about my sewing machine the other day. It was squeaking away. I mean, really squeaking, and I thought, this is brilliant. I've got 11 pieces to make for a festival of quilts in 3 weeks. And my sewing machine's about to break down. I haven't got time to have it serviced. I haven't got time to even find a mechanic here. So I Googled, my Janome is squeaking. How can I fix it? And I found a fabulous site for Janome users. And in the bottom of underneath my bobbin case, there's a little wick where if I put a little bot of oil, it just sorted it out instantly. I was so impressed. So again, it's very tempting for me to just start thinking, all right, down there. But no, my lines are telling me that this is still feathers coming out this way, so I'm just running up and down, trying to make it feathery. Not necessarily fill this right in now, because as this gets more and more, oops, hang on, we've not got any thread. I think we've run out of bobbin thread. Hang on, let's have a look. We have, so we'll just change that, which is interesting because the bobbins are in the drawer, which is hidden by the camera at the moment, so just bear with me a minute. The camera's just gonna out, that's gonna, okay, the bobbins aren't in the drawer with the cameras. Where are my bobbins, everybody? I moved them for filming. Where did I put them? Just bear with, it's another classic, it's a classic video, you're used to these, where I just have to, my only excuse for this is I was organised until I set up the camera. Hang on, I've moved them over here somewhere. This is where I moved them. Yes, there's the bobbins. So I've got bobbins set up here for me in a dark black and in mid greys and in pales. And for this, I'll use, I haven't got a full bobbin, but I've got enough for this demo. You don't want to watch me wind a bobbin. I'll just pop that on. That'll be enough for me to just show you this with. Put that in, get my back thread, lift the bottom thread. Okay, so I'm back to old Sammy Seagull here now. Right, okay, so I'm turning it that way just to check what I'm looking at, and it's looking okay. It'll look a lot better when his eye goes in there. That'll give us something that we're looking at. And I'm just noticing here, there's actually a lovely line comes down here on my bird, on my photo. So let's just put that in, because I think that will help us to see his eye a bit. So let's get that in. Once you put your foot down. So it's kind of quite a nice, smoothie one down there. And it curves out around his eye and down into his beak. Yeah, that's better. Okay. I think I was saying before we ran out of thread. I'm not going to stitch this. I will stitch this more heavily. I'm going to sort of medium heavy stitch it now. Because as soon as I start stitching really heavily, it is going to wrinkle, and that will make it very difficult to get into the rest. I will get all the wrinkles out when I block it, but to make it a little bit easier for me while I'm stitching, I just try and keep my stitching relatively even over it. Now I'm having to remind myself what I'm doing here. So the beak and eye, isn't it? So that's right, coming down here. So we're just going to put this area of white in here. And really, this is why I'm not going to let you, I'm not going to treat you to me doing the whole of this girl, because this is all I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep going to and fro. And I'll leave that area for a moment and just show you a different one. And I will do everything that I want to do in these light colours to begin with. So hopefully you can see his little face is starting to come up, and as soon as when I've finished all the white, I'll come back and show you some pale grey going in, and then the darks, and then it all starts popping out. But at this stage you just have to have faith that it is going to do that. So when I'd finished that bit there, I would then come to, say, here, which is this nice chest, or there's this area here, and again my lines tell me that he goes up there, and then this starts coming out here. So that piece goes along there, those feathers, that dark grey will edge that, but this is coming this way. So this is the way I need to put these feathers in. And I'm just going to, because one of his body now, just up my zigzag a bit more. It's only on a 0.4, so it's tiny. It's barely noticeable, but I do find it makes a difference. And if I want to smooth them up at the end, I can always go in with some real straight stitches, but this just makes him look feathery. And I can't tell you how reliant I am on my directional stitches again, because once I'm looking like this, I'm not really seeing the whole bird anymore. All I'm seeing is the area I'm working on and the colour. I'm seeing colour. I'm looking for light areas. There's some grey there. Now what happens here? That comes out, okay. So now we need to, no, it's still coming out, so back around that way. I'm just going to go along under what is his beak. You'll think until you do this that you're going to remember this, that it's really simple and straightforward, but it isn't, believe me, it isn't. It's not simple and straightforward. It's very confusing. It's amazing how confusing it is when you get to it. Let's put some edge in there. You need these marker lines. You see, I keep thinking I want to go down. Do I yet? Do I yet? No, this is still, let me look at my photo. Under his beak here, we start coming out and round. So you see my marker line's not quite accurate on there. So what we're going to be doing is getting across, and then we're going to start coming round. Like this, and that's it. And then we're coming down into these. So marker lines, really useful. Top tip, second top tip, put a small zigzag on. So I'm just going to carry on now, filling in under here, and when I get that little bit done, obviously then I can get down into some nice bigger. This is where I might then, when I get to there, turn the speed of my machine up, and I'll just keep going. I'm going to finish off these light areas. And then I'll get into the pale grey, and I'll show you that later. So I'll go and post this one up, and I'll do another one for you later. Okay, bye now.